What's going on, guys? Junior's Fishing Company. Another deer hair jig video. I've got a 1/4 ounce VMC lead head jig, standard lead head jig, but I dipped it in dark olive paint, and these eyes are Hareline 3/16 of an inch, just like chartreuse eyes. So it looks a lot different than a standard VMC jig. Different eyes, different colors. But I really like to dip my own jigs. I haven't gotten to the point of pouring my own lead or anything like that, but when you buy a pack of 10 jigs that are the exact same, I mean, you end up having to buy 6 packs of 10 just to get some variation. But if you just get some different sizes and dip them yourself, you can really kind of run wild with the whole different colors. And if you tie flies, you have a ton of eyes anyway. So I like to put different eyes on too. I'm going to try and match this head a little bit. So I've got just some dark olive deer hair, and then I've got, I think this was pistachio green. So just 2 different shades of green. And so, but I'm not going to put any Arctic goat in. I'm not going to put a synthetic tail. I'm not going to do anything like that. This is just going to be a pretty standard deer hair jig. And so this first one, I'm getting darker as I progress. So you can see how light this stack is. And then I'm trying not to drop all of it. This stack is going to be my last one, and it's going to be a lot darker. So I'm going to kind of get darker as I get closer to the head. And I've got a lot of jigs that are 4.5 to 5.5 inches. So this one's going to be a little bit shorter than I've done in the past. But you want to have some diversity. And I didn't take any of these super long hairs out, so it's going to be a really tapered tail. It's going to really taper down to a super thin tail. So I'm going to get that trimmed up. Cord up my thread. This is just Danvilles 210 black. You can use any color thread you want. What I usually do is I'll put a red collar on if I don't tie all red the whole time. I mean, it's probably the most subtle part of your bait is that collar. If you really want to work hard matching it, you can order a ton of different, I mean, I don't know how many different colors of thread there are, but I usually stick to black, white, red. I've got an olive sitting right there, but I didn't want to match it too much. And then it's always hard to trim the head how I trim them if the thread matches the hair. So I'm always careful about that too. So I'll come up here and I'm going to put my second stack, which is getting a little bit darker, a little bit thicker. Stack them up, and then I'll put down my flash too in just a sec after this stack. I don't want to go too far down because I want a nice tail. So I'm going to cut a lot of this off. But on these short jigs, and that's why, you know, if you go to Musky Fool, I know I mentioned Musky Fool a lot, but they've just got great deer hair. They've got a Clouser grade up to AAA. Rarely do they even have any AAA. But if you go to the Clouser grade, it's going to be the shorter hair, and it's cheaper. So if you just tie 4-inch deer hair jigs, don't spend $18 on a tail, because what you're paying for, you're going to cut. You're just going to end up cutting it off anyway. So don't, you know, if you tie bigger stuff like I do, you know, you want some variation in your tails, you know, especially like olive or black or white. I've got probably 6 or 7 white tails, and I get some of my tails from family and friends who hunt. But if you're just really tying short stuff, don't get the super expensive Primo stuff, because you're just wasting your money. So I'll get that tied down, and then I'm going to put my flash down. The flash I'm using is Moonlight. That's the name of this. It's like silver and black, a little bit of opal. It's kind of a blend of a few different colors. It might be my favorite of all Flashabou colors, just because I think it matches a lot of stuff. But I also, for sure, overthink it. You could probably put red flash in it, or just go with silver every time. But Moonlight might be my personal favorite flash to use. Put some on this side. I don't want to go quite all the way down to where that little deer hair tail is. Just get that pushed right on top. And it always looks like I'm using a ton, but this last thing of Bucktail is going to cover up some of this flash. So you want to use a little bit more than what you would think you need. So I'll get all that trimmed off. Then I can do my last stack. I don't need to put any super glue. I'll just get some tight wraps on here. So I'm going to do this last stack, and again, it's got way more of that dark, because this is a lot of that light stuff. So this last stack is going to be pretty big. Get all those short pieces out that I'm going to end up cutting out anyway. So it's a lot more of that dark, but you can even still see some of that pistachio green. You just want to be careful when you're blending these together. You notice it right away. So I'm going to come a little bit farther down, trim again about an inch of that hair off. Cord up my thread really well, make sure that it's all the way up. Come right here. There's going to be some flare in this tail, or in this hair, but I don't want to bring in too much of that flare out yet. I want to get this spun around first, and then I can add that flare. Sometimes there's nothing you can do, but you just want to get it as evenly as you can. And then I can hold these butts down, and then I can get my flare out without having to worry too much about messing with all this hair up here. So I'm going to just wrap up a few tight wraps towards my head. I don't want to work back. That should be good. Then I'm going to get my trusty razor blade. I'm going to trim it up. Alright, olive pistachio jig. If fish like pistachios as much as I do, it's going to be a killer. 1/4 ounce, just again, a simple 3 stacks, a little bit of flare, a lot of taper, and there's going to be a ton of movement in this little tail back here. I usually prefer to do a different tail, whether it's Arctic Goat or some sort of synthetic or something like that. But I wasn't kind of feeling it, and I couldn't really match these colors quite enough to make it worth it, in my opinion. But just another nice little walleye jig, 1/4 ounce, not too heavy, do it mold, olive paint. Like and subscribe, comment, insult. Junior's Fishing Company. See you in the next one.